Hello, hello, and happy Thursday to everybody. I think we are actually live, so we're going to move forward. I want to apologize for being a couple minutes behind schedule. What can I say? It happens, right? So today's episode of Real Talk with Riah, we're going to talk about being too busy in your business, in your life. We've been talking a lot about delegation, and that's what our main topic was last week. And social media posts this week have really been about like what types of things you can delegate and just getting your brain thinking about what you can get off your plate. And so what I wanted to do was dig deeper behind the why of why delegation is so important. And I think the very first thing that came to mind in terms of the pain points was the hustle culture that we have, especially here in the States, where it's glorified for us to be busy. We saw this more pre-pandemic where like we were running around like chickens with our heads cut off, um, and really having our schedule so full that we were going crazy and we were tired all the time. And for me personally, I had to go in and specifically block out time that says buffer time so that I didn't see an empty space in my schedule and fill it with something else. And not necessarily because I'm trying to hustle, but because I'm like, oh, I have available time there. And really, I don't. We need downtime. We need the ability to transition from one thing to another thing. But there's this intense pressure to get as much done as possible in a day. And the reality is, we are human beings. We have not only the capacity of the time in the day, but also like what our availability. I like the analogy of like the spoons. You have so much energy allotment per day, and that can fluctuate from day to day too. Like I will find that there are certain days where I am not as productive, and then there are certain days where I'm in such a flow that I get so much done. But what I want to have in terms of mindset for you guys is that the important part here is that the activity that you're doing is activity that you love. And I'm sorry, what I'm doing here, the reason why you're seeing me distracted is I'm making sure, number one, that all of my devices are on silent, and I have them up so that if you have questions, which I hope you do, and I really encourage you to please participate in this conversation, that I can see them. So there's only a couple places. If you're here, will you please make a comment that tells me that you're here so that I know that you're here? Even if you're watching this on the replay, just put replay so that I know that you we're here and involved in the conversation, because your voice really matters and really counts for me. So yeah, hustle culture, so important. On the personal side, I think that we can overschedule ourselves to want to fit in too many activities, or we feel like we have to accomplish a certain amount of things. Or as parents, if you are a parent, or if you are involved in a child's life in a parental role, we can push this on them too, where we're overscheduling them, like with sports or activities or all these kinds of things, in the mindset that we're doing, we're giving them a more well-rounded life. But in reality, we're causing anxiety for ourselves. And we're less productive. So this is where, if you're stuck in the hustle culture, or if you're overscheduled, you know, if you're overscheduled, delegation is so important, because the reality is that you want to be doing the things that you love, not the things that you think you have to do. So, my next point that I had written down was the overscheduled professional woman versus the Pinterest mom who overcompensates because she's absent. And what I mean by that is like, I see, and even like, I had to shut it off because there's certain people that I've been associated with in my life where they're very, very successful women. And then I see like these Instagram posts where their um, kids' birthday parties are like perfectly, like they look like they came out of a box. And like, like my kids, like, would get a McDonald's table and we would throw a party and meet people there. And I need to know that that's like okay. Um and I think the overcompensation, I'm 100% guilty too. So if I find that my professional life feels out of balance with my personal life, especially when it comes to my family, I may overcompensate in other areas because I'm trying to, by overcompensating, I mean like give in to things that I normally wouldn't, or buy them things that I normally wouldn't, because I'm trying to make up for the fact that I'm not present. And the reality is that nothing is going to replace my presence in their lives. I need to be a mom. I need to be a family member. And if I am not there, then I'm just not there. Like it needs to be worth it. And so for me, delegation has meant that I'm present in a way that I wouldn't be otherwise. And I don't have to overcompensate because the time that I have with them is precious, and it's well spent in a way that is meaningful. um and that's different. Like I've never been the mom who runs the kids around to sports events and all that kind of stuff, although that's not exactly true. My middle daughter is very active in theater, and we did voice lessons and theater things and whatnot. But I definitely have done things where I've overcompensated because I'm a high achiever and I overschedule myself, and I still overschedule myself. Each day I look at my schedule for the day, and I use a planner that says fumble triggers. And so like these are the things that are going to get in the way of me being the most productive. And one of the things I wrote even today was like, don't overschedule yourself. Don't, like I started to write out a task, and then I was like, why am I writing this task out for me? I delegated it to a virtual assistant or something around the house. And then I was like, well, maybe ask my husband to do that and see if he's available to do that. And maybe he's not. And then I do it. But that's, just asking for help in whatever capacity that might look like for you. The next is the mentality based on where are in terms of generationally. I'm a Zennial, so what that means is I am either a geriatric millennial or a Gen X, a young Gen X. I don't even fit into the geriatric millennial because I'm 1978 is my year of birth. So, and the geriatric millennial starts in 1980. That generation, we were a lot of latchkey kids. And I wrote, let the kids eat dirt, meaning like we figured things out on our own. And so this plays into the overcompensation. Like we may want to do more, either one for ourselves because we are overachievers, or two, we may want to do more for the next generation because we don't want them to have the same experience. So, all of those tying in back again to the hustle culture. Another pain point, really, when we're looking at being too busy is FOMO. Like, there's so many things to do. There's so many interesting workshops and groups and classes that we can take, or the very real things of life, like the decisions that we make on who we're going to spend our time with, our free time with, Or, self-care, like, is this a time where I need to be resting, or should I be actually doing something? And if I actually rest, am I going to miss something that I would regret? So fear of missing out is it's a real thing. Um, Something else to consider is really having difficulty relinquishing control, both in your life and in your business. So you can find yourself being too busy in your life and your business because you don't want to give it up. You're afraid that somebody else is not going to be able to do it the way that you would do it, or it would be subpar, or it's going to cost you more work. So control is a really big one, and definitely has been one for me. Has been a big life lesson. Even like I just am not good at asking for help, especially in my personal life. Um like I'll get irritated and I'll get overwhelmed, but I don't think like maybe I should just ask for help in this area. And so I find that I'm a little bit better, and maybe it's just the nature of the business that I do and the fact that I have a team that is like literally there to support me. And my role in the business is to be the face and to make develop the relationships with the people in the community, and their role is to support me. And so I have to get really good at delegation and asking for help, because I hit a capacity. And me, my role as a CEO is to lift my head and to look in the eyes of the people that are um, really engaging with the company, and to engage in those conversations. And if I'm doing the work and sitting behind the computer and hustling and producing, I don't have time to do that. I'm too busy to do that. Another thing to look at is escapism due to stress or mental illness. So because I have anxiety and depression, sometimes workaholism can feel good. Like just really grinding away at something can feel good, and I don't have to deal with the fact that I feel sad, or it's difficult to work through um, some of the reality of things. um it's easier to just like put my head down and do productive things. This is the too busy. So far with these guys, I want you to comment, where are you in your business? Put a comment, and please, I mean it, like actually comment, where are you in your personal life or in your professional life? Where are you too busy? And put the quotations around it, because it means that you could actually ask for help in that area, but you're filling your schedule with it. Or it's causing you some type of negative effect. And then I just, like we really have to think about our health in reaction to being too busy. Like one of the things that I notice when I do loan signings, and so I help people as a notary doing loan signings, and sometimes I do that as a bilingual loan signer. And that means I spend a lot of time in my car. Well, if I forget to eat and I'm in my car, I don't have resources with me. So then I have to find something to eat. And that means I'm going to make a choice that is not as good, or I'm not going to eat, because none of that sounds good. All of that leads to breakdown in weight. I've definitely gained weight over the pandemic. Physical ailments, like not feeling good in your body. I mean, having low blood sugar is definitely not going to lead you to more productivity. Um, and the main pain point of all of this, is if you're stuck in the busyness, you're not serving your client to the highest level. You're not giving your genius to your clients or your network or your leads. You're not able to be present because your head is down. Something Mel Robbins said in her book, and I think her book is called Work It or something like that. It's on Audible. I highly recommend it. But she said, like, if you're in a meeting, you should absolutely not be taking notes. Like, you should have your voice be heard. She's like, let somebody else take notes, because this is what happens when you're taking notes. Your head is down and you're not engaging in the conversation. Um, and she said, like, let your voice be heard. If John is speaking and you're listening along to what John is saying, even if you only say, hey, John, thanks for sharing that. That was a really good point. The people are going to turn and they're going to look at you. Again, make your voice be heard. The same mindset is here in terms of being too busy. If you are in the nuts and bolts of what you're doing professionally or personally, you're not allowing yourself to be seen. You're hiding behind things that could be done by somebody else or could be more efficiently done. And people don't actually see what is so special about each and every one of us, because we are special. We each have something unique that we bring to the table. And I've said this before on the live stream and on the podcast, but there's a quote from Tama Keeves, who is, she is a teacher of the Course in Miracles. And she did a meditation and it just blew my mind. She said, you are the answer. You were born to solve a problem, and you are the answer to that problem. And that's the point here. Like, you are the answer to a very specific problem. And when you allow yourself to be buried in things that are not in the realm of the answer to that problem, you are hiding that side of your genius zone from the people who need that answer. And so you have to think of it not as, especially if it's control that is holding you back, don't think of it as a control issue. Think about it as you are robbing somebody of the answer to their problem. And for those of you who are retired, disabled, not working professionally, maybe unemployed, this applies to your personal life too. Like, if you're buried in the things that you have to get done and you're not investing in relationships, you're hiding the best part of you. And maybe the things that you should be doing are reaching out to people. And if you're not, like, if you're an introvert and you're not like a call them on the phone, like, send a text and just say, like, hey, I'm thinking about you, and do that to like 2 people a day. Or shoot an email or shoot a social media message or whatever it might be, but start conversations with people, because you deserve to be seen. Like, you take up space, and I want you to take up the space, like all of it that is yours on this planet, because you deserve to be seen. So again, just in the comments, tell me, what are you struggling with when it comes to being too busy? For me, it's definitely a bit of control, a bit of escapism. I feel like I'm getting there when it comes to overscheduling. Like, I'm finding the tools and the tricks for my own self, my own brain, my own mentality that helps me not do that. But I definitely am still in that area where I'm not addressing all of the control and escapism. And a lot of it is subconscious. I'm having to, like, because I'm using a planner and I'm writing things down, I'm having to go back and review and then say, like, ooh, I said I have to do that thing there. Do I have to be this person? Like, is there any other solution to that task? And so, like, taking stock of those things and then thinking about how you can ask for help. And then also think outside of the box. Like, what resources are available to you? Maybe in the community. Maybe maybe you could ask for help in the community. Hold on, Monique is here but driving to an appointment, so she's coming back to the replay. But red light thoughts. I think that people overschedule themselves because it makes them feel like they're doing things. Being busy becomes martyrdom and a source of validation. Booyah. Booyah. That is like what I'm talking about. Like, I mean it when I say that, like that's the escapism. Like, we feel like we're doing something. And so it covers up the negative emotions or limiting beliefs that we might be feeling. But it causes all of this. Well, number one, you're not actually getting anything freaking done. Like, you're not actually being productive. Maybe you get one thing done that's productive and the rest of it is just fluff. And then number two, you have all these negative effects to it, the extra stress, the extra anxiety, the impact to your health, weight gain or weight loss, physical ailments, literal chronic pain and chronic conditions. One of the people, I'm hoping that she's on here somewhere. I'm having a hard time connecting to my business page. I'm going to go switch over to my business page here and see if she's on here. One of the people that I wanted desperately to be able to join in this conversation is Kira Whittam. Kira is a functional nutritionist, and she deals with people who have, like, she is a more holistic provider and deals with people who are suffering specifically from autoimmune disease. And she helps other people too, but she specializes in autoimmune disease. And they are having limiting beliefs, and they're having these too busy things get in the way of their health, due to nutrition, due to mindset. It's all like wrapped into one. You can't just like fix your diet or fix your schedule and then be fine. You can't like fix your mindset and then like magically your diet fixes itself. Like, all of these things are intertwined. You do need to have the right mindset to be able to start there, but it's just really important to like be aware of that. So, what are some of the solutions when we're talking about these pain points? And I wanted to, break down some of those solutions. And while I'm bringing up some of these solutions, put a comment in the comments and tell me what ones you're trying. If you have other solutions that we're not talking about, I want to hear those too, because everything that we share as a community is helping somebody else. So please do share what you have in terms of solutions. But my very first and foremost solution is clarity. So I want you to take the time to write out your priorities and get really clear on what's most important to you. People talk about this ad nauseum, just so much. But literally, please take out a piece of paper or go into your notes on your phone or whatever you need to do and write out what your priorities are. Literally write them out. You can do this one productivity hack. This is just one if you're more of like a scientific. It's called the Eisenhower method, and you separate your priorities into 4 parts, excuse me. So one is urgent and important, and that means that that's a priority. And the next is important but not urgent. Then not important but urgent, which means you can't delegate these tasks, or excuse me, you can delegate these tasks. And the last is not important and not urgent, which means those are last on the list. So who has done, raise your hand, like, or comment if you've done the Eisenhower method. I want to suggest another method, and this is my favorite. So this is also not a new concept when you say, what are your priorities? And the best way to know what your priorities are is open your wallet and open your schedule. So if you're watching this and if you're watching it on replay, or if you have time today, what I want you to do is I literally want you to go to your computer and I want you to open up your calendar. Or if you do a physical calendar, I want you to open up your physical calendar, and then open up your online banking and take that list that you've written out your priorities. And hi, honey, my husband is watching the live stream. So take that list where you've written out your priorities, and I would like for you to, on your schedule, write out how many hours this last week you have um, allocated towards your top priority and how many dollars you have allocated towards that top priority. So for those of you who are spiritual and you say God is your number one priority, how many hours have you spent in prayer, in scriptures, in communion with other people, at church, and how much have you spent specifically towards your priority of God? If your priority is your kids, how much quality time in minutes and hours have you spent with your kids? And how much have you spent on your kids? And not just in frivolous things, but like in priority issues or priority expenses. And you get the idea of what I'm saying is what we're going to find out is that what our priority is Starbucks and McDonald's, and our priority is Amazon, and our priority is watching Netflix, and our priority is all these other things. And that's not what we really want. Not what we actually want, but these are the too busy things. These are the things that we're spending our time on. And we're it's important for us to take stock of that, to say, I say that these are my priorities, but what I'm actually doing in action is prioritizing these other things. So, this is not to cast judgment. I'm totally guilty. This is a clarity check. And if we're out of alignment, what I want you to do is to just put a note where you've written down this, this information about what you've actually spent, you know, um, and call it point B. On a separate sheet of paper where you have actually found that your current priorities are, write them down and call it point A or put baseline. So, see the difference side by side of what you actually want and what you're actually doing. And then, you know, figure out a plan of how to get from baseline to what is your priority. So a lot of people have commented that they don't understand what the service that I provide, which is called Clear Path Consulting, is. And this is like exactly what it is on a professional level. It's people who have a baseline that is out of alignment with what they want, and they need help getting from point A, which is the baseline, to point B, which is the priority. And that could be on a very specific task, or corner of their professional life, or something more on a grander scale. So like, for example, I've worked with people on obstacles to showing up online, like literally just posting a Facebook post. And I'm not saying I'm a social media marketer. I'm saying like talking out the logistics of what it is to have the solution and the specific actionable steps to what's tripping you up from being too busy. And then setting those actionable steps and having accountability to achieving that point B or that priority. And maybe we don't accomplish all of it in our sessions, but we accomplish enough steps that are actionable and we set clear steps where they can move forward and do that on their own, or, continue to work with me. So that is one of the services that I provide, but you don't have to work with me to be able to do this. You can do this on your own. It's just some people really need the accountability and need someone else to help them break the cycle and think outside of the box to put those plotted steps on the path. If you have questions about clear path consulting, send me a DM. You don't have to comment. But just let me know, what your thoughts are and what your thoughts are on this technique. So again, just to like review what you can do on your own is number one, take a piece of paper, write out what your priorities are, top to bottom. Then right at the bottom of it, point B or priorities. Next, open up your online banking and open up your calendar and write down from top to bottom what your actual calendar and wallet says your priorities are right now. And I want you to quantify it in hours. I want you to quantify it in dollars and put at the bottom of that point A and baseline, and then plot out steps to get you from baseline to point B. You know, just be honest with the what, the how, and the why of why you're staying stuck in the tasks that don't serve you in reason. And the other thing is, like in a recent podcast episode regarding mompreneurs, Aga of Choose Clarity Coaching. And if you haven't listened to it yet, please go to my YouTube channel. It's under Riah Gonzalez and watch it there. You can check it out on the Client Experience Revolution podcast, which is on every podcasting site. You can get it on Spotify, Apple, wherever. But Aga had a suggestion of writing out your priority list and then flipping it upside down, because she said typically moms especially will put their needs at the very bottom of the list. And she said if you flip it upside down, you often can find that you're more productive. So the last solution that I'll offer here, and which is really important point to take away, I'm going to fix my posture because, lean back in my chair. Really important for you to take away is your life, every minute of your life has value. And I really don't want you to miss out on the sweetest moments because you were busy doing things that you don't love. I have told this story, but I will tell it again because of how impactful and how meaningful and what a change and wake up call it was for me. And that is that I worked in a career that I thought that I wanted. I had the beautiful office. I was managing, a multi-million-dollar medical practice in downtown Seattle. I had all the titles and everything that I thought that I wanted. And there was a night that I had a choice, and my daughter had a choir concert, and it was going to take a significant amount of effort for me to get to the choir concert, navigating public transportation and racing and a lot of anxiety and everything. And I decided to miss the choir concert because her dad was going to go. And later he sent me a recording, and it was back before we had the beautiful recordings that we do now. So it was a lesser quality. And she had a solo of the song, oh my gosh, why is it escaping me? Troubled Waters. That's the name of the song. And she never did have a solo like that ever again. It was the whole song and the whole choir behind her backing her up. And she sang the whole song. And I missed it because I made a choice that it was too difficult. It was too much of a hassle for me to get out of the too busy to do something that I would have loved. And I made a vow to myself. I cried, and I still get emotional about that. I never missed another choir concert. And when my second daughter did theater, I never missed another play. If I did, it was so rare, and I made sure that somebody else was there to represent, and it would have been that there were 8 performances and I missed maybe 1. I was maybe not there for the minimal moments, but for every one of the large moments, I was there because we do this, guys. We miss out on some of the most amazing things because we're too busy. And that's a shame because we only have one life. And the most mundane can be the most valuable. And so I don't know what your passion is, and I want you to make it your mission to find out what your passion is. And I want you to give up what's holding you back. And I want you to make room for knitting or creating TikTok videos or naps or seeing your kids perform or playing their favorite activity. I want you to read smutty books and make custom stickers, repair a car, maybe making the most intricate Excel spreadsheet that would make a nerd cry with joy is your passion. I want you to hit the love button if you agree. Like, tell me what your current passion is, because the weirder, the better. These are the things that we need to be investing our time in and carving out the space. And I'm not asking you to add additional tasks. I'm saying get rid of the too busy. Find what actually needs to be done and make room for these things. And your passion will come to you at the right time, but only if you stop the busy and you create the beginning, the start of being real in your life and your business, regardless of the outcome. And I cannot say it enough. I really want to hear, your thoughts. Tell me what you're doing that's weird and awesome. I will say, let's see, what are my passions right now? I'm loving TikTok. I don't create because I'm not allowed, because I have a daughter who's 22 and a daughter who's 20, and they say that I'm not allowed to make weird videos on TikTok, but I love consuming TikTok. Big shout out to Beth Hostetler, who's killing it on TikTok right now. I also have read some dumb, smutty werewolf book, romance book that was kind of fun. And I'm just trying to take it easy and figure out what relaxation looks like for me, and making room for the things that bring me joy. One of the things that brings me joy is my husband and I have a little coffee stand, and I'll even show you because I haven't eaten it yet. But this is an orange cranberry muffin top by Seattle's Favorite. So every morning, and this would be something that would show up in my checkbook as a priority. Every morning we have coffee, and we buy coffee, and I get one of these muffins. And you know what? I don't freaking care. That's a priority for me because it feels good. It's something that we do, even if we don't do it together. It's something like a ritual for us. So, that's something that, I'm not saying that you can't have these minute things that seem unimportant to somebody else, but are important. So that's what I've got today. If you would like to connect, find me on LinkedIn. That's the place where I really hang out. My name is Riah Gonzalez, so that's where you find me on there. Wherever you are watching this simul stream from, if you have questions, if you want to add to the conversation, if you don't want to comment, but you have, want to have a conversation with me personally, shoot me a message on whatever platform. And if you are seeking specific clarity in an area and you want to walk through this process because you're stuck, the methods that we use in Clear Path Consulting, are actually scientifically based. And they are amazing. They really focus on what your strengths are, what's draining your energy, and we use those to create this list. So send me a message and let's talk if that's something that you're interested in. Sorry for a longer one this week, guys, but I just had a lot to say. I feel like this topic is so important, and I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, thank you so much for being with me, for going on this journey with me, and for participating in the conversation, because it always means the most, like that you would spend time, diving into the things that I think are important as well. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to more conversations. Like I said, anyone who's catching this on the replay, make sure you put your name, just like hashtag replay in there. I'll make sure to come back around and answer anybody's questions. And I just welcome you to join me every week. I'm trying to do these every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Not all of them will be this long, but this topic was so near and dear to my heart and so important that I felt like it was important not to cut it short. So if you missed part of it and need to come back, it's all right. It's totally fine. Some of my talks used to be called Riah Rant. But, like I said, this is just one that's really important. Don't waste time in the unimportant, guys. Like, really, really, everything that you do should be intentional. If you're napping, take a mother flower nap. Like, be intentional and don't miss the sweetest things just because you're too busy. So that's it for this week. Join me on the Client Experience Revolution podcast. We have a new episode going live tomorrow. Um, you know, Feel free to engage with the content, ask questions. If there's a topic that you want me to cover, let me know. And, I just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining me. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.